Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Yashodanandana Braj Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braj Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana नंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरवनचारि। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद, जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद। युग धर्म हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय। श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया। भगवत्य उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Reading from Canto 5 titled The Creative Impetus, Chapter number 1 titled The Activities of Maharaj Priyavrat, verse number 41, which happens to be the last verse of Chapter 1. Bhaumam divyam manusham cha mahitvam karma yogajam yaschakre niryaupamyam purushanujana priyah. Bhaumam divyam manusham cha mahitvam karma yogajam yaschakre nirayaupamyam purushanujana priyah. Bhaumam divyam manusham cha mahitvam karma yogajam yaschakre nirayaupamyam purushanujana priyah. Bhaumam divyam manusham cha mahitvam karma yogajam nirayaupamyam purushanujana priyah. Bhaumam divyam manusham cha mahitvam karma yogajam yaschakre nirayaupamyam purushanujana priyah. Bhaumam divyam manusham cha mahitvam karma yogajam yaschakre nirayaupamyam purushanujana priyah. What word meanings? Bhaumam, of the lower planets. Divyam, heavenly. Manusham, of human beings. Cha, also. Mahitvam, all opulences. Karma, by fruitive activities. Yoga, by mystic power. Jam, born. Yaha, one who. Chakre, did. Niraya, with hell. Aupamyam, comparison or equality. Purusha, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anujana, to the devotee. Priyaha, most dear. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. As a great follower and devotee of the sage Narada, Maharaj Priyavrat considered hellish the opulences he had achieved by the dint of fruitive activities and mystic power. Whether in the lower or heavenly planetary systems or in the human society. Purport. Srila Rupa Goswami has said that the position of a devotee is so super excellent that the devotee does not consider any material opulence worth having. There are different types of opulences on earth. Even in the heavenly planets and even in the lower planetary system known as Patal. A devotee, however, knows that they are all material and consequently he is not at all interested in them. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Param Drishtva Nivartate. Sometimes yogis and jnanis voluntarily give up all material opulences to practice their system of liberation and taste spiritual bliss. Then he can give up material opulence. Maharaj Priyavrat had already tasted spiritual bliss, and therefore he had no interest in any of the material achievements available in lower, higher or middle planetary systems. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport to the 5th canto, first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. Umagyanatimirandhasya jnananjana-shalakaya चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपा तमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं। हरिः ओम तत्सत्। Hare Krishna. As a great follower and devotee of the sage Narada, Maharaj Prevrat considered hellish the opulences he had achieved by dint of fruitive activities and mystic power, whether in lower or heavenly planetary systems or in the human society. So today's verse is the ultimate conclusion of, or rather, this chapter is ultimately concluding of by representing or by telling us the thought process of a devotee. No matter in which circumstances the devotee may be, whether by choice or by providence, the chastity of a devotee towards Krishna does not waver. And that we have seen in this whole chapter of titled The Activities of Maharaj Prevrata. We saw how Maharaj Prevrata, after spending many yugas in the association of Narad Muni, was not very much interested to get into the rulership of the lower and the middle planetary systems of this universe. However, understanding the supreme will of the Lord and understanding how the supreme will of Krishna has to always supersede everything, he took to the rulership of the universe. And then we saw he did various activities like by the power of mystic yoga, he expanded himself into two expansions. One expansion was busy moving behind the sun and giving a favorable situation to stay and practice Krishna consciousness to the planet Earth. And in the other expansion, he was very expertly managing the reins of the kingdom. And then, if we remember, even Lord Brahma had told him while he had come to discuss and convince Maharaj Prevrat that you please take up the rulership of this universe. In the end, Lord Brahma had also told that once you are done, then after that you can again follow in the footsteps of Narad Muni. So indirectly, in that verse, Prabhupada had indicated that Lord Brahma had told that after doing the rulership of this universe and giving this universe proper future kings, you can again go back to the path of renunciation. And in the previous verses, we have seen that how Maharaj Prevrat, after doing activities which no one else except Krishna could do, he very soon again became detached to the whole affair of material world, including his wife, children, kingdom, and then ultimately divided the entire rulership of the Bhumandala amongst his sons, and then ultimately retired again. And this verse is the culmination or the conclusion, or which tells us how a devotee is always untouched by the modes of material nature, by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Chitraketu is cursed by by Mother Parvati, Lord Shiva makes this statement: Narayana parasarve na kutaschana bibhyati swarga apavarga narkeshu api tulyartha darshan. So for a devotee of Krishna who was dependent on Krishna, whether they are put in the higher planetary system or they are in the middle planetary system or in the lower planetary system, it is always the same for them, because wherever they go, their job description is to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. And that is their only job description. And that they do everywhere by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as long as they are doing that, they are fine. They are happy to execute the will of the Lord. This reminds me of a nice incident which Srila Prabhupada shares with his disciples, that when he was in Kolkata during the Second World War, bombs were being dropped, and even in the Calcutta city, some bombs were dropped. So everybody was leaving Kolkata and going to nearby villages and cities to save themselves from the bomb. But Srila Prabhupada didn't leave the city of Kolkata. He said that if the bomb is coming, then I will look at the bomb and think it is Krishna and accept Krishna in my life. So that is the consciousness of a devotee. They see Krishna everywhere and they literally live with Krishna every moment. Uddhava also once asked Lord Krishna that you have many devotees, my dear Lord, and many of them, they always think of you and never forget you. Many of them, literally, their hair stand on the end when they chant your holy names, and their voice starts faltering, and their eyes become watery because of devotion when they remember you. What is the difference between your devotees who have these symptoms and the gopis whom you consider the topmost? So Lord Krishna smiled and said that the gopis, whichever color they see, they always see only my color. Whatever they hear always my names. Whatever they think, they always think of me. And whichever situation they are in, they always use it to take shelter of me. Devotees who are advanced in Krishna consciousness, they see Krishna, or they understand that Krishna is the Paramatma in their heart and that Paramatma is supposed to rule them. But for gopis, even that is not the case. They don't even need to listen to the Paramatma because they are always directly in association with me and always chanting my holy names. So that is the greatness of the position of the gopis. So similarly, a sincere pure devotee of Krishna is also like that. In another morning walk, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that for a devotee, every sound is a transcendental sound. One of the disciples asked, Prabhupada, do you mean that this car's beep, 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 beep sound which is coming, that is also transcendental? Prabhupada turned, looked at him and said, yes. For a devotee, even this beep, beep, beep sound will remind him of Krishna. So, of course, I cannot understand what Prabhupada said, but that is the case. And the same is the case with Maharaj Priyavrat. Again, I cannot understand what Maharaj Priyavrat or this verse actually means. It says that Priyavrat Maharaj considered hellish the opulences achieved by the dint of fruitive activities and mystic power in the lower or the heavenly planetary systems or in the human society. So I have seen some opulences only in the human society. I have only heard of some opulences in the heavenly society and I am afraid of them. And I have only heard of some opulences in the Patal society and I don't want to experience them. Only Krishna knows what will be my situation when I actually start experiencing the opulences of the lower and the upper planetary systems. I don't know how I will behave. Very rarely anybody has this kind of an experience. Only the demigods who are sitting at the realm or the helm of the upper planetary systems, or maybe those sages who are above the Swarglok and Brahmalok, only they can make such statements. That too if they are very fixed up in Krishna consciousness. And here, people like Indra, they are ready to kill various people, including the Dhichi, just to sit in the heavenly planet systems and feel happy that I am the king of the heaven. And he is a great personality, a vibhuti of Lord Krishna. So we can understand it's not easy to give up those things. But here we can see that Maharaj Priyavrat considered all these opulences as hellish, that he really does not want them and he is very, very disgusted with them. I mean, nobody wants to go to hell. So this opulences and the mystic power and the kingdom and great rule, etc., was considered hellish in comparison to the taste which he had got in Krishna consciousness earlier under the guidance of Narad Muni. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, Srila Rupa Goswami has said that the position of a devotee is so super excellent that a devotee does not consider any material opulence worth having. There are different types of opulences on earth, in the heavenly planets, and even in the lower planetary systems. A devotee, however, knows that they are all material, and consequently he is not at all interested in them. Vishya vinivartante niraharasya dehinam rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. So one who has got this higher taste in Krishna consciousness, he knows that he is a part and parcel of Krishna, he is a spirit soul, and the only thing which can make him happy, or the only environment in which he can peacefully coexist with Krishna, is a spiritual environment. Then material things have no value. Whichever wealth one possesses, they cannot carry it back with them after death. So everything which is material has to be given up. This the devotees very much easily understand. They very expertly use it in Krishna's service, but they are not attached to it at any time. The only thing which they are attached to is Krishna and the lotus feet of Krishna. Their heart is a place where constantly the remembrance of the pastimes, the name, the qualities and form of Krishna is going on. That is the meaning of a devotee. That is the case with Maharaj Priyavrat, and he really doesn't want any of it. So this means that he has a very good experience of Krishna, and he has become a Paramahamsa, where he is very sincerely differentiating between material and spiritual, and wants to very consciously take only spiritual things. So sometimes yogis and jnanis voluntarily give up all material opulences to practice their system of liberation and taste spiritual bliss. However, they frequently fall down because of artificial renunciation of material opulences cannot endure. One must have a superior taste in spiritual life, then he can give up the material opulence. So giving up material opulence is also not so easy, because one needs taste in life. If there is no taste, then where will one go? So, if one has to give up sense gratification, then they have to find an engagement in the sense gratification of Krishna. So one has to stop gratifying their own senses and start giving pleasure to the senses of Krishna. Only then sense gratification can be given up, and this is not an easy task. This requires a lot of mercy of Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas. This requires a lot of cleansing of the heart through transcendental knowledge. This requires giving up of the doership mentality. This requires spiritual training. This is not easy. One cannot do it on their own. So Maharaj Priyavrat has been able to do it. He is not in the categories of these jnanis and yogis who are artificially trying to give up material opulences. Because they don't know, they have read the scriptures, they have heard that it's very great to taste the spiritual bliss coming from the Brahma Jyoti or the Brahmananda, and they are trying to experience it. But they are not very sure about it. They are very lusty for the impersonal liberation. They are very lusty for the siddhis which they have till now. Imagine a yogi has some siddhis. He is able to control the minds of people. He wants to go around, so immediately he calls a tiger, sits on it and goes. And then he is in a forest, he wants to go out, so all the trees are bending and giving him away. He is living in that kind of a situation. And whenever he wants, rain comes to give him a bath. But then somebody tells him, he meets as Srila Prabhupada says, in the Science of Self-Realization, he says that any yoga system meets its perfection by the touch of Bhakti Yoga. So this yogi, he's thinking he's perfect, but when he meets another devotee and he sees that this devotee is telling me that by chanting Hare Krishna I'll become perfect, then he wants to experience it, but he's not very sure about it. This yogi can actually get perfection only when he serves that devotee and surrenders to that devotee and follows the process taught by that devotee, just like Maharaj Dhruv did. He reached the perfection of Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyan Yoga in just 6 months. But then after that, he started chanting and building a deity of the Lord and worshipping it according to the process taught by Narad Muni. So every Dhyan Yogi needs to do that. But the problem is that they do not surrender, they are lusty behind the opulences, they feel that is the greatest thing. So therefore, even when they try without surrendering to a devotee or without chanting Hare Krishna to experience that spiritual bliss, most of the times they fail. But Maharaj Prevrat's case was not like that. He had sincerely served Narad Muni. He had got the blessings of Lord Brahma and other devotees, Mahajans such as Swayambhuva Manu, Lord Shiva, etc. And then he really wanted to come out of the entanglements. Just like a lotus petal never gets wet or dirty even amidst dirt and water. Similarly, he, although surrounded by so many tentacles of material life, but he was untouched. This is called mercy of Krishna. This is only possible by the mercy of Krishna. So one must have a superior taste in spiritual life, then he can give up material opulences. Maharaj Prevrat had already tasted spiritual bliss. Therefore, he had no interest in any of the material achievements available in the lower, higher, or the middle planetary systems. So this spiritual bliss is so great that once someone truly experiences it and has a sincere desire to sustain it, will lose taste for all kinds of false beauty and material temporary opulences. In one lecture, I heard the comparison of spiritual bliss to the material opulences of the world. The comparison was given as follows. They said that suppose you are 17-year-old and you have a very, very disease-free, enthusiastic, nice body. And at the age of 17, you are told that you own the entire planet, along with all its resources, and all the people on it are there to serve you. How much happy you will feel. Now, they said that that is the happiness of a king of the planet. Multiply that happiness 1,000 times. That is the happiness which a Gandharva is experiencing when he just goes into the deep depths of the ragas and the surs, tal, etc. Multiply that happiness by 1,000 times. That is the happiness which demigods are experiencing when they are living, according to Srila Prabhupada, in the super excellent quality of the mode of goodness. Multiply the happiness of 1,000 demigods by 1,000 times. That is the happiness which Indra is experiencing in his kingdom. Multiply the happiness of Indra by 1,000 times. That is the happiness which the sages are experiencing. Multiply the happiness of sages by 1,000 times. That is the happiness which Lord Brahma is experiencing in the Brahmaloka. Multiply the happiness of Lord Brahma by 1,000 times. That is the happiness which is experienced by a person who has just merged in the impersonal liberation of the Lord. That means one who is experiencing the Brahma Jyoti. Now that happiness which is there in the Brahma Jyoti is considered, just imagine how many times, 1,000 times is multiplied. That happiness of Brahma Jyoti is considered not to be equal to even a drop of happiness which a person who is preaching Krishna consciousness, chanting Hare Krishna and distributing Prabhupada's books, sitting under a tree is experiencing by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So therefore, anybody who has taste for this kind of happiness will never go for heavenly opulences or opulences in the lower planetary system or even on earth. It's like giving away diamonds in return for some rusted nuts and bolts. I mean, I'm not even making a proper comparison. And Maharaj Priyavrat just gave up everything because his only priority was Lord Krishna. And that is the case everywhere, even when I'm thinking of Damodar Leela. So Mother Yashoda has decided to churn the butter. And while churning the butter, she's singing the various pastimes of Krishna. When Krishna was few days old, he killed Putana. When he was 3 months old, he killed Shakatasura. Then when he was around 1 year old, he killed Trinavat. So like that, Bhagavatam doesn't mention all the pastimes, but there are many pastimes which Lord Krishna did before this Damodar Leela. So Mother Yashoda would want to remember those pastimes always remember her child's pastimes and never forget her child's pastimes. So she would go to the various poets and tell that this is what my child did today, can you make a poem out of it? And then she would be singing. That's why the Bhagavatam says, Yani aniha gitani tad bala charitani cha. She's singing about the Lord all the time. And then when she gets up in the morning and when she starts churning the butter, she starts singing. And the Bhagavatam says that she's singing not like how I sing Samsar Dava. She's actually fully absorbed. She is not just mechanically singing it. She's just singing it with all her heart. And the Acharyas comment that while singing, her face is expressive and her eyebrows are going up and down and she's feeling happy and all that. And in the next purport, Srila Prabhupada explains why she's singing. She's singing to mitigate the feelings of separation which she is having from Lord Krishna while Lord Krishna is not with her and sleeping in the next room. So that is the consciousness of a devotee. They always want to experience Krishna, never forget Krishna. And their experience of Krishna is uninterrupted. So such devotees, what they will care for material opulences. So when Mother Yashoda is churning the yogurt, which to make it into butter for Lord Krishna with all the love for him. So Lord Krishna comes up, being attracted by the beautiful songs of Mother Yashoda and the love which Mother Yashoda had. He comes and he stops the churning of the butter. So the Acharyas explain that the Lord is trying to say that when I am personally in front of you, what kind of karma are you doing? Just come and cater to me and be present with me, and that's what I want. And Mother Yashoda, although she got up so early, she was frustrated by the complaints of so many gopis. Although she engaged all the other maid servants in other kinds of duties, although she got up early, dressed herself, and got inside the kitchen to make yogurt, but when she saw that Krishna wants something else, she immediately stopped that. Churning stopped. And then she started taking care of Krishna. So that is the consciousness of the devotees. The will of Krishna is topmost. We saw this quality in Maharaj Priyavrat also. He was so nicely experiencing the spiritual bliss, but when he saw Krishna's desire is to rule, so he ruled. And then ultimately when he understood that it's time for me to again become fully absorbed in full-time remembrance of Krishna, he again gave up everything. And this was not difficult because he was always chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and he was always remembering the lotus feet of his spiritual master, that is Narad Muni. So I would like to close today's discussion by repeating the last line of Prabhupada's purport. Maharaj Priyavrat had already tasted spiritual bliss, therefore he had no interest in any of the material achievements available in the lower, higher or the middle planetary systems. Thank you very much. If there are any questions or comments, there will be.
So this point, Param Dushta Nivartate, is very nice, that only when we experience some deep spiritual taste, so that is when we'll be able to give up the material taste. So, and also how Priyavrat Maharaj, like he accepted the will of the Lord. So, and to start ruling and things like that, it's quite a difficult thing if somebody is doing something and to change that. So it's a very amazing aspect.
Hare Krishna, bro. Thank you for the nice class. So here, at the start of the class, you made this point that in all situations, devotees' chastity towards the Lord is not disturbed, is not checked. So the devotee's dependence on the Lord and the service rendered to the Lord is not checked. So this we can see in the case of Priyavrat Maharaj also, that how even when he was ruling the kingdom still, his devotion was not checked. He was continuing his devotional service, and at the right time, he was quitting from his family life. Hare Krishna.
So here in the life of Priyavrat Maharaj, he showed what is the real attachment, until unless we don't have the attachment to the Supreme Lord, or have experienced the higher taste of the spiritual place, always even though there's a higher chance where we can deviate from the practice of Krishna consciousness. So I personally take this as I should have that kind of the taste of spiritual bliss. If not, then anytime Maya can take me out. Right?
आपने प्रियव्रत महाराज का एग्जाम्पल दिया, जैसे कि कोई फाउंड में अगर कोई लोटस फ्लावर है तो कैसे कीचड़ से भी आता है, बट उसमें कोई कीचड़ नहीं लगता है. तो प्रियव्रत महाराज जैसे इतना सारा अपलेंस था, फिर भी वो भगवान का ध्यान कर रहे थे. वो प्योर डिवोटी का एग्जाम्पल बहुत अच्छा था. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna, nice class, Prabhuji. Thank you. So one point I can say, the thought process of a devotee in all circumstances will be he always engaged in the Krishna services. And the second point, when the devotee will get the higher taste, he will just neglecting all the material things. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So similar point that, as you mentioned, spiritual bliss is so great and it has so deep mellows that even if one tastes little, and even if the devotee has a desire to sustain it, so he will lose taste in all the false beauty, all material appearances. And then you explained in the initial about the thought process of a devotee, that whatever circumstances by providence or by will he is in, he will never, his devotion towards Lord Krishna will never waver, it will never change. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thanks for a very good class. So it applicable for everyone, even for a devotee or common man. So always there is a material entanglement which we need to go through our life. So if we are absorbed in a devotion, so any material entanglements like Priyavrata so has taken up ruling over the kingdom or universe, and after doing that job, so after material entanglement, again he has to go back to the Krishna conscious. So materially we might be absorbing or we might be doing something, again we have to get back to our original consciousness, which is Krishna conscious. So this is the only way which we can go through in this life to be always thinking of Krishna. And this is the only solution which can take up or give up the spiritual bliss. Hare Krishna.
ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे